Let me start by asking you, of all the stuff I shared, what resonated? Just like you tell me, what of this morning, what resonated? What stuck with you? Again, this is the interactive part of today, right? Don't make me come down there and see. Purpose, right? So having a purpose for being online, not just doing the activities online. What else? Access. What about it? Access to community, right? Remember what I said earlier. People fundamentally gather for two reasons: content and community. What can I learn, right? Even the couple clubs I belong to, right? I'm telling you, I'm soaking it all in. I don't know what half the stuff they're talking about, but it's cool, right? I'm learning a ton. And then who else can I meet? One of the guys in the club, you're not gonna believe this, neurosurgeon. And he rides, and there are a couple attorneys, and there's an economist from Federal Reserve in this club that rides with us. Really interesting people. But you gotta create the environments for people to get to know each other. And that's a big, and one of your colleagues asked me, why did I choose the brands that I chose? And I said, it honestly wasn't because of your good looking ads. It was because, I saw it in the back of the guy's garage and we started talking about him. And the first time I sat in one, you turn it on and your stomach, it goes here and like, I want more of this, right? So yeah, community is a big one. Building on and offline. Tim and I talk about building communities. Right? It's really important to get people and become a purveyor of those relationships. That's the really important part. What else? Can I tell you a quick story? I'm going to apologize to the ladies in advance. I'm in Seattle. This could have happened anywhere, right? I'm in the men's room. I'm standing at the urinal, and there's a guy a couple stalls down who keeps glancing over at me. This is not something you want in the restroom, right? I'm just telling you. He just looks, and then he starts smiling. Right now, I'm getting really nervous. Like, what is this all about, right? A couple minutes later, he looks at me and goes, meow. I'm like, of all the things I shared, that's what you remember? You're killing me, right? So I got to change my stuff, So, but I want to hear what else resonated. I know I shared a lot with you, and it was kind of drinking from the fire hose. Don't get overwhelmed. Please don't get depressed. Yes, sir. Yeah, mirror. Can I I won't tell you the full, but can I tell you one more? My intent really isn't to make anybody cringe. A female friend. We're talking about bringing more females into this industry, right? Female friend, graduated from Harvard Business School, works at McKinsey, lives in town, has one of those cute Fiats, has a scooter, decides that she wants something a little bigger, goes into one of your dealers, and the guy says, come back with your boyfriend. Right? Not surprising. She said, I won't repeat what she said, she left, right? So we gotta get away from stereotyping. Not everybody who rides has tattoos and long hair and pierced part, right? Not everybody who rides looks like what you think they would look like. So, please. Yeah. Oh, no question. And you can't. No, I understand that. But what I push back on, I don't believe anybody ever shows up to fail. They're poorly trained. They're poorly measured. They're poorly compensated. Like, those things come into play. And I really would rather have you have less inventory on that show floor that I can actually go sit on and touch and than having one flavor of all. I'd rather you have fewer people who are knowledgeable and engaging. But you have to understand the value of an experience. Because if I have a positive experience with you, I'll come back and I'll go out of my way and I'll spend money with you. If not, you know how much gear I've bought since that mirror incident? None from that dealer, right? So yeah, that experience is a big one. Let me go there. Yes, sir. What resonated?
It was.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Please use those and I'll make sure I repeat them.
Yeah, what really resonated with me was talking about the value of storytelling. Because so much about, that's how we got into this business was we'd hear the stories of someone else that was riding and the tales they would come back with from the road or the track or whatever it was. And so I know in our businesses we make a big point of doing that, and I think we need to do it even more.
No question. People, I do 50 to 60 of these types of events a year. A lot of people may not remember my points, but they'll remember the stories. They'll remember this. They'll remember the mirror. They'll remember the stories. We live through stories. We tell our history through stories. We tell the narrative through stories. And here's I see both a challenge and an opportunity. Many of you have amazing stories. The problem is they're well-kept secrets. And if you don't find a way, what's the can of sugar water out of Atlanta that's red? How about the athletic clothing with the check mark? Nike. How about the $10 cup of coffee? Companies spend millions, if not billions of dollars, packaging, marketing, positioning, defending their brand. What are you doing to build and market this brand called you and your stories and your experiences? And if you believe my notion that people don't believe your advertising and marketing and they believe their peers, what are you doing to create, we're talking about this, advocates. And people are going to carry your flag, not because they're paid or you're sending them free stuff, but because they believe in your product and the value of your product, right? By the way, you're welcome to take your party favors and your tables home. You know, you think anybody would miss those boots if I just put them on and walked out? You know, would anybody complain? So yeah, stories are an incredible way to really get a much broader audience engaged. Other things that resonated, other things that you took away from, yes sir, right here.
Passion about putting the customer first and the Disney story and the Four Seasons story.
Right.
Just being passionate about being customer-centric.
Right. Tim threatened to shoot me if I wore a tie to this event. But listen, I grew up at IBM and we wore white shirts, pinstripe suits, and red ties every day, right? I buy a tie from Nordstrom. The guy sends me a personal handwritten note for a tie because he realized it's not about the tie. It's about a lifetime value of a professional who's going to buy a whole lot of clothes, and if I have a good experience, I'm going to go back and see him. How many emails have you gotten this last week? How many emails? 150 a day. How many personal handwritten notes did you get this past week? How many did you send out? Right? So again, in this Twitter and TiVo world, we got to go back to some of the fundamentals, which is people buy from people they like, they trust. Let me add one more, they respect. Now, consumers, a lot of those things apply, but you also have to educate, and you have to engage, and you have to, get them into a dialogue. And again, go if you haven't, please go into an Apple store, and just does anybody come up to you and say, hey, you want to trade that BlackBerry in? No. And kind of let us show you. Have you seen the Mini? And have you seen, right, whatever the case is. I showed you an example of the Fiat store in the mall. Go experience one, because I think it will help elevate the conversation to a different level. Right? Yes, sir.
The parts I found most interesting so far was, one, many months ago, I read a lot of articles, and I get a lot of daily alerts, not only about my own brand, but I actually have a lot of other people's brands that come to me daily. Know yourself, know your enemy better. But it's amazing to me the lack of information that exists in forums, or the assumptions that are made, which I'm sure you're aware of. And if you guys don't know about them out there, you should. And I spent a lot of late nights signing up for about every forum in the industry, just simply to address them and educate. Pretty anonymously at this point, but it's really begin to form the basis of what we will move to as a company.
Yeah.
And more importantly is the struggle I have, as do most of my contemporaries in this room, is we're a bunch of old farts. And as these dynamic young kids come into our industry and our businesses, it's really tough, because what you said, the hardest thing they have to do is have a one-on-one conversation and a handshake, which we built our careers on. And what they do so well is connect in so many other ways we aren't able to yet. And trying to embrace that, I think, is going to be the most important thing all of us do as leaders in our companies, and find a way to tap into that youth element they have and the connectivity and their want for a 15 minutes of fame or to be a dynamic player in our company, and for us to step back a bit because we're so used to leading and let them engage with their consumers. And that's the big transition. Yeah. It's tough to do. And it's what we're going through, but that's a real key thing, is to be smart enough to do that.
Let me give you a quick example. I had a chance, at the pleasure of getting to know A.G. Lafley, the chairman and CEO of Procter & Gamble. And A.G. talks about when he was there, anytime he went into a city, in order, first he would go on a shopping spree with a mom. This is chairman of Procter & Gamble. No entourage, nobody else, just him and a mom. Because he wanted to see how she shopped and what were her choices and why did she pick one product. And he would talk to them, right? When was the last time any of you went in as a mystery shopper into, on or offline, someplace who represents your products and services? Right? Number two, he would then go to a store, a different store in he called it kind of rough parts of town, right? Just to, again, walk around the store and talk to the clerks and talk to, so one was the customers, the other one was go-to-market channel, right? P&G doesn't sell you and me anything direct. It's all through the shelving in the grocery store. He wanted to go see how did they have, could they answer questions of not just where the products were, but, hey, I'm looking at this, bleach versus, what do you think, right? And he would ask them. Then he would go into the office and brainstorm with people about what are we doing in this market, what do we do differently. Nothing replaces feet on the street. Nothing replaces village knowledge. Nothing replaces you going to edge of where business happens and really understanding how it makes the business tick. And unfortunately, as you go up in the organization, you become administratively boggled. You become a hindrance to decision making. People are waiting on you. So you gotta, if you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of yes people, you gotta get away from that and go at the edge of where that business happens. And again, there's a lot of noise in your market. Everybody, I call it the signal to noise ratio, right? It's just there's a lot of noise. You wanna sift through that noise, you gotta go capture and package and tell great stories, build great experiences, and learn from others. How many of you have ever seen mystarbucksideas.com? One of the biggest challenges with a number of industries I work with is there's little to no feedback loop mechanism from consumers. Go look it up, mystarbucksideas.com. It's a website that solicits input from people who interact with the Starbucks brand all the time. 100,000 ideas this year alone. Let me give you a couple. You've seen the wooden stir, right? That stir my sugar and cream and stuff. Somebody says, I bought a coffee, I put the cup on it, there's a hole, right, that I drink out of. Well, I went over a bump and spilled all over my white shirt. The stir that we use, can we use something to plug up that hole and, right, so it doesn't spill out? Have you seen the green stirs that plug up that hole? It came from that website. Somebody else says, you know what, I love a cup of coffee first thing in the morning, but that lull of the afternoon where I really want to go take a nap, I'd love to go back to the store and buy another cup of coffee. The problem is I don't have a whole lot of incentive. So Starbucks integrates a $2 off coupon on the receipt from that point of sale that you get in the mornings. 124% same store sales because of that $2 coupon. And it came from the website. Food, experiences, where to put the sugar and cream on that table, all of these things, they are taking amazing ideas from people who interact with their brands, and they're integrating it. Is every idea a good one? Heck no. But you know what? People who interact with your brand are all amazing opportunities for you to learn. Are you savvy enough to listen? And I actually tell people, you got to listen louder. You got to listen to not only what they say, but what they're not saying. Listen more intently. Figure out opportunities to learn. Be a purveyor of relationships. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the best part I was going to say about that is then they put a sign up that says, we listen to you. This is another great idea from you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So then they do the follow-up as well.
By the way, do you know if your idea is accepted or they send you $10 Starbucks gift cards, $50 Starbucks gift cards, a T-shirt, right? My idea rocks, or some funny. People that are making $100,000 a year love free T-shirts, right? But show appreciation for the number one, you're willing to listen. Number two, I just bought some body armor, and it's really uncomfortable. It rubs right. Listen to what people are telling you. Are you listening? Number two, don't waste my time if I'm going to give you feedback. Have you seen these stale surveys? People still do, and I give you all kinds of feedback, and it goes to Never Never Land. You got to show me that you're listening, and that's why they publicize their ideas, and they allow people to talk about them and vote on them, and right. So you got to number one, you got to tell the world you're listening. Number two, you got to build a mechanism to take those ideas in. Number three, show that you're doing something about them, right? But thank you for that. Other comments, other issues, other things that resonate. And then what I want to do is I only have like 2 slides for the afternoon session, and we're going to do some individual and kind of group exercises. Other questions, comments, things that resonated from this morning? Okay. So, yeah, was there one? Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, actually, I see a lot of mindset changing all around. I mean, different generations have a different way to approach things, and the new generation has a complete different mindset.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I missed the question.
No, that was.
Oh, the comment, different
resonate.
mindset. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
different mindset.
And you, from my son to Katie example, you gotta go build. And again, I wanna make this afternoon about practical, pragmatic, right? So go build a relationship with the local university. Go to a marketing professor and say, who's some of your brightest marketing kids, and bring them in, right? Not to run the place, but just infuse ideas. It's amazing what a fresh set of eyes can shed some light on the same way you've been doing things for a whole bunch of years, right? One of my clients, we helped them with a social strategy, and they hired a director who came from Amazon. She's done more in 3 months than this client has been able to do in a year. You ready for this? They're in the insurance business. I mean, at least you're in a really exciting, you're really exciting industry, right? How do I, and I love her comment. Listen to this. I want to build an e-commerce presence that sells insurance, not an insurance company that sells insurance online. Very salient point, right? I want to build an e-commerce company that just happens to, the product is insurance, but I don't want to be an insurance company that just happens to sell insurance online, right? It's a different mindset. E-commerce does things very differently. So she's investing in SEO, and she's buying banner ads, and she's got her finger on the pulse of acquisition costs, and they're selling individual policies. You want to know why? I said earlier, business has to align with who you're trying to date, has to align with social market leadership. Their businesses, their go-to-market, a couple of their sources went out of business. And insurance is one of those products that's going from wholesale, selling through an employer, to how do you engage moms? How do you engage recently retired? How do you engage entrepreneurs who don't think this type of insurance is a must-have versus nice-to-have? You got to go where they are. You got to go speak their language. You got to go engage them on a one-on-one basis. Right? So it's absolutely right. You got to start thinking the way they do. You got to speak their language. Right? Okay, so if we can go to the screen, what I want to do in the afternoon, first exercise. So real quick recap, 10 ideas in the Return on Impact book. You're going to talk about your top 3, challenge or an opportunity. Let me recap them real quick. Number 1, put customers at the center of everything you do. Customers at the center of everything you do. Everything you build, your products, your R&D, your marketing has to be focused on them. Putting customers at the center. This isn't customer satisfaction. This isn't, we love our customers. This is becoming a customer-centric organization, number 1. Number 2, build a social strategy. Social strategy is, what will this business look like 10 years from now? And how do we now really enable it with social and mobile, right? Number 3, build world-class engagements. Build world-class engagements, train the ecosystem, train the organization to deliver world-class engagements. Think about what has to happen for your business to become a Nordstrom, or for your business to become a Four Seasons, or your business to become a Disney of the world, right? Number 4, different kind of organizations. Any guesses on where the traditional org chart came from? Military, World War I. Command and control is a military term. Newsflash for you, it's 2012. We got to go from command and control to track and trust. Trust that you're hiring the best possible people for the role. Trust that they understand where they're going. Trust you understand what they're trying to achieve. And then track their progress and become a servant leader in supporting their efforts, right? So you got to build a different kind of organization that understands this one. Itunify your capabilities. By show of hands, how many have ever bought an Apple product? Did you get a user's manual? Yes, it's online. Apple, who ships millions of products a year, a couple years ago, shipped out 100,000 products with no documented user's guide in them. 3 people complained. Once again, reiterating that you can never make everybody happy, right? Have you met some people who wake up on the wrong side of the bed every day? 3 complained. It dawned on Apple that we buy cars and we don't go through the user's manual, much less a fairly intuitive digital device. Last year, Apple saved $2.2 billion because they no longer print and distribute these booklets that you either leave in the box or shove on some shelf that nobody reads. That's an example of giving your customers a lot less of what they don't want, what they don't need, and a lot more of what they do. So how can you do that in your business? What are you spending time creating that nobody gives a flying leap about? Nobody cares. Nobody reads the stuff. Your brochure is number 50 on my desk that I'm not going through. Now, and catalogs, I know they come in CDs, but there's something cool about the paper, right? But what else are you creating that nobody cares about or nobody really needs? And how do we get rid of that stuff? That's iTuneify your capabilities. So 6, social talent. You got to go find digital residents. Digital natives, people who live, eat, breathe this stuff. The comment about go build a relationship with a local university professor, find kids, I call them kids because of age, not right, that can come in and look at your business and start thinking about it differently. Bring them in. We get 400 resumes a year, a semester, typically summer. We bring in 2. And those 2 do, I mean, a summer intern showed me Facebook in summer of 05. A summer intern showed me Twitter, summer of 06. They just think very differently. You got to find ways to infuse social talent in your business. Socially enabled execution. If you think about social and mobile as yet another thing you got to do, you'll never get good at this. You got to figure out how do we integrate it into our day-to-day activities. One of the fastest growing markets are online communities. What if you build an online community for your dealers? Where they logged into here, and if they're not competing, they kind of shared ideas and Sermo. Build Sermo that I showed you for your dealers. But you're going to have somebody to be that community manager, right? So socially enable your execution, analytics, get good at data. Get better at data. You're generating a lot of data. Figure out how to leverage, how to use that data to build better experiences. But analytics are incredibly valuable. Failing intently. Do you have a culture? Now, if you have a company of 5 people, this may not be that difficult, but do you have a culture that's unafraid of retribution? Do you have a culture that's unafraid of failing? Do you have a culture that learns from its failures? And ideally, you're failing forward, you're failing fast, your CFO's asked me to ask you to please fail cheap, but I don't believe you can learn as much if you're not trying, if you're not really pushing the envelope in your respective world. And then reinventing ROI, thinking about your soft assets, literally thinking about how to build an image, how to integrate different parts of the value chain, really thinking about how to work closer with online or brick and mortar dealers if that's really your path to market. So those are the 10. I'll walk around. I'm going to keep this microphone on. If you have a question, probably so do others, so I'll answer it. But I need you in your respective tables, talk about it. I want each table to come up with top 2 or 3, either a challenge. What's your top 2 or 3 challenges? What are you struggling with as a company? And number 2, or what's the top 1 or 2 opportunity? What's one of these or 2 of these that you could do considerably better? Go.
Now we have opportunity over here.
Okay, great. Yeah, you really do. So nice. You're starting for all intents and purposes with a clean slate. What you said something about. I want to compete with the other guys. I would say don't. I deeply believe it's very difficult to work on the business when you're in the business. So go away and just put a ton of ideas up and love it. Yeah. Good, keep going. Top 3 challenge or opportunity? I live in Atlanta. Just north of Atlanta is the North Georgia mountains, right? Dahlonega, that area. Love it. It's an hour-and-a-half ride or drive up there. I've done it once. I bought the trailer. Now we've gone on 4 or 5 times. We trailer up. We found a place. We park the car. We go ride. It's 200 turns in 20 miles. right? And then we ride it back, we put the bikes back, bring it back. And it's social to ride up, ride back, so I love your stuff. So build a YouTube channel, start interviewing people who are your customers about why and how they found out about it, why they use it, why that one. Put no longer than 3 minutes, put those online. Because if they don't believe your marketing and they believe their peers, let them hear from one of their peers. I need the top 3 challenges or opportunities from you. All right. If you want to share, just raise your hands and let's hear either a top 3 challenge or you see an opportunity. Now, I'm overwhelmed by your response, by the way. Yes, sir, right here. Can we get a microphone to this good-looking man right here, please?
A challenge, and this may be more me than the total group, but we were discussing it, is
I apologize to interrupt you. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm Tom Seymour. I'm with the company called Saddleman, an aftermarket manufacturer of accessories for motorcycles.
Treat me like I'm 10 years old. What do you make? What do you?
We make seats and saddlebags, accessories for
Beautiful.
motorcycle to improve the comfort and styling of your
Love
motorcycle.
that. If you can't articulate, if we don't learn anything else from Twitter, we have to learn this. There's value in brevity. Get to the point. Nobody likes to talk to anybody who pontificates. Get to the point. Who are you? What do you do? Why would I care? And I don't want to hear your techno jargon. Get to the point. I get saddles, I get saddlebags, right? I apologize, continue.
Thank you. One of the challenges that we face, and I think it's in all sizes of companies that may be here, is giving the responsibility in your organization for the social engagement and networking and all the things that are involved is rather a cross-platform kind of thing. It involves advertising, it involves R&D, it involves sales. It's a lot of different functions. And you need a certain degree of expertise to make that happen. But in a lot of companies, the people with that kind of expertise are more senior executives.
Yes.
And they're not the ones that know
Yes.
this world at all.
Okay.
So you hate to hire this 21-year-old kid that knows this
Yes.
to handle
Yes.
those significant issues with your company.
Would you like some feedback or no?
Please.
You cannot abdicate your strategy to a 20-some-year-old. As a matter of fact, that's really dangerous. Because they don't have the season. For those of you in the room with the gray hair, I realize you didn't paint on the gray hair, right? You cannot abdicate the strategy to 21-year-old, right? Leverage them for their strengths. You set the agenda. And I said, strategy isn't about the tools. You're going to have a great speaker this afternoon who's going to talk about the tactical and the implementation, right? That's critical. But you have to establish the strategy. Where are we going as a business? Who are we trying to engage? What do we want to do online, right? Let them leverage what they do well, which is the execution. And by the way, the 21-year-old should be one piece of the puzzle, not the complete puzzle. They still need adult supervision, right? Think twice, tweet once. Think twice, tweet once, right? So you establish the strategy, you establish the game plan. By the way, one of the present general counsels excluded, one general counsel told marketing, I want to see every tweet we respond to. Marketing said, okay. First day, they put 3,000 pieces of paper on her desk. She got the point. So what they established were bookends. If it's between here and here, you're welcome to respond. If it's outside of here, go get somebody else with the gray hair to kind of give you comments. Right? So again, I don't believe in policies. I think policies are straitjackets. I do believe in guidelines. You establish the strategy, the vision, how we're going to grow, who needs to understand about the saddle business and the bags, right? How we're going to go out there and engage them is you help leverage them to execute. Thank you for that. Give me I need another one. Either a challenge or an opportunity.
Finding the right company and social strategy.
Yes.
Or to engage in your social strategy
Yes.
or to get you there.
Yes.
How do you find the right people? Where
yeah.
do you research?
Okay, so I told you, a lot of people don't believe you're advertising and marketing. Start asking your peers, who are you using? Have you had a good experience with somebody? Unfortunately, suddenly every out-of-work person is suddenly a social consultant. Right? I believe it's very, I've sold for a bunch of years. I believe it's very difficult for me to take sales advice from somebody who's never carried a bag. At Computerland, I had a can of tuna and a thing of crackers on my bookshelf to remind me if I didn't sell something today, that's what I would be having for dinner. right? So you want somebody who's doing it, done it, has case studies, examples of, and by the way, you're not Coke, unless you tell me you're from Coke, right? You're not Delta. You're not these massive organizations with endless, bottomless pits to give me examples of other entrepreneurs or other small businesses you've worked with. I don't necessarily believe you have to be in the industry. Hear me out. I think that helps. What you want is somebody who understands how to engage and influence the target audiences you are after. And you need to see examples of where else they've done this. And go talk to them and say, what went well? What didn't go well? What do these people do well? What, right? Go do your due diligence. You set the strategy. You set the game plan. Bring them in to be the sounding board, be the experts, be the advisors. Make no mistake about it. This has to become an in-house core competency. You can use outsiders to spark you. You can use outsiders to be sounding boards. I do this right now. At Cooper's, we used to bus kids in on Mondays and bus them out on Fridays. And respectfully, $250 an hour. I promised myself I wouldn't do that. So I like you. I just don't want to come hang out with you for the next 5 years. Right? I want to come light it, and by the way, I like lighting a fire in people, not under them. Under them never lasts. I want to light a fire in you to get excited about this and learn. Listen, if I can take a bike apart, you can figure out how to do some of this stuff. So use others to help get it spark, get it going, but it has to become a core competency. Did I answer your question? Did I address? Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, does it help, though, to have that young person now
Yes.
be a motorcyclist?
I believe so. Yeah, because the experiences I've had at the dealers, I'm buying online, I'm buying on eBay, and then I'm trying to sell a bike and all that stuff, I believe gives me more firsthand perspective. But something that would be really helpful for those of you who've been at this for a really long time, remember the first bike you bought. Go back and remember the first helmet you bought or the first gear you gotta, and we're gonna talk about, walking in their shoes in a second. But you're assuming way too much. And if you want to engage new customers and new markets and new market opportunities, you got to go back to step one. I'm telling you, I don't understand 60%, 70% of what people talk to me about in these clubs and when I go into dealers. It just goes, listen, I think I'm a pretty smart guy, but I don't understand the technical jargon. I'm still trying to figure out how forks fit in, and I'm learning. But it just, a lot of stuff goes way over my, that's why I said, treat me like I'm 10 years old. What do you do? And I've seen your name badge, and I politely ask people, well, okay, I can read, but I don't know what you do. What do you do, right? So you don't have to be condescending, but I think it would be help to speak their language, not yours. But it does help that social media person if they ride, or at least they go into dealers, or just like actors go and learn the role they're going to play, it'd be really helpful to go learn, immerse yourself in that market. Yes, sir. By the way, that side is really quiet. I'm looking over there. Not a whole lot of questions over there. I know it's after lunch, but yes, sir.
What do you think are some easy ways that the industry can start using big data and the analytics that you're talking about in a non-social manner? Like, there's streams and streams of kind of data metrics and psychographic makeup and stuff. What do you think just the 3 easy ways that people can wrap their heads around it?
I brought up psychographics. The gentleman brought up psychographics. I mentioned it to you. Demographics is what most of the industry understands. 45-year-old white male lives in this area, 2.2 kids. I don't know how you get 0.2 kids, but 2.2 kids, dog, right? Demographics. Psychographics is my digital footprint online. The words I use to search. What sites I believe. My click-through, where do I click through? What do I find credible? All that stuff, believe it or not, you can capture. And you can start making sense of. So one of the easiest ways is, this is where I would say bring in outside help, right? Because most companies don't have this expertise in-house. But you can generate a ton of data about individual customer profiles and start understanding their life cycle, right? If somebody's new to this industry, where do they go to buy? Where do they get informed? Where do they get training? MSF has got a ton of great information about people that come through the class. What do we know about them? What do they ride? Have they come back? There were a bunch of guys in my class from military. Apparently military guys have some sort of a requirement that they got to, right? How many of them other ones are there? And like I said, the more you learn about that profile, that customer, the more effectively you can align that which they need with what you bring. Many of you are just shooting in the dark. So start using data to understand profile of that customer and really the life cycle they go through as they grow in their enthusiasm. That's a really smart way. That's number one. Number two, CRM. CRM, customer relationship management. For years, we use Outlook, right, to keep track of just contacts. Then I went to Act, right? We use Act for a long time. The problem is Act has this hard time scaling. 7, 8 years ago, we went to Salesforce.com, right? So we track everybody in Salesforce.com. You have to, whatever works for you, you got to build some mechanism of capturing individual information. So here's one good example for you. I recently went to one of the websites I showed you. I watched their video about a leather jacket. I talked to Tim, and Tim said, I bug him all the time, poor guy. I texted him, and I said, what do you think about this brand? And of course, I mispronounced it, right? He said, I think they make really good stuff. And I went into a dealer, I tried it on, European sizes, a little kind of tight, especially if you build a certain way, right? I went online, bought it. With it came a little card that says, go to this website and register. Like, a jacket? Why would you register a jacket? What am I going to get about the jacket? Guess what? There's pockets and pouches, and you kind of know what I'm talking about. There's pockets and pouches for, right, safety guards and armor that I can buy, and, right, they're starting to try to build a relationship with me. But don't send me emails about your leftover inventory that you're trying to get rid of. That's not a relationship. That's still transactional. Educate me. Inform me. Tell me about demo days where I can go on site and try different things on. Can I borrow your stuff? Can I use that stuff before I buy it? Right? So in that model of educate, engage, empower, what can you do with your products and services to get people educated, engaged, empowered, right? By the way, after I've had that experience, don't just drop me off. I said get in the business of follow through, not follow up. Ask me, engage me. How was the experience? Did the stuff fit? Did you like it? You didn't like it, right? Get feedback from me about that experience. All that's great data that I can use to build profile of the customer and, again, the life cycle. You asked me what time it is, and I told you how to build a watch, but that's what consultants do. Let me go, yes, ma'am.
So how do you make social media a core competency of your company if you don't have buy-in from your executive team?
Appeal to their logical self-interest. Let me say it again. How do you engage executives? Appeal to their logical self-interest. My last 10 CEO conversations, every single one of them, growth has been top 3 priority. So, you talk to them about Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and they don't get it, they don't see the relevance, and you cannot expect them to connect the dots. Show them how the activity will drive engagement, the engagement will drive sales. Show conversion, talk about conversion. Because if you talk about growth, at least they'll give you a runway. Now, I want to believe you today, I want to believe in you as you execute. So you better execute. Because you execute and you'll get more money, you get more resources, you get more runway. You don't execute, I'm going to pull the plug. Right? But you got to appeal to my logical self-interest. I've got to drive growth, I've got stakeholders, I've got investors, I've got numbers I got to get. I also get excited about new markets. Go tap into new markets we've never had before. Go get us into new places that we've never touched before, right? Now, one of the misperceptions about social is you get on Twitter and tomorrow it's going to become this massively fabulous and very profitable revenue engine. Right? First 2 weeks I'm on Twitter, I was like, what a complete waste of time. Twitter's all about who you follow. And you got to share insights and ideas, and it's not your personal billboard. And I don't believe it's just one. You got to use multiple channels. But social networks, presence, social media, platforms, social market leadership, purpose. That thinking, that kind of thinking, creates awareness, creates brand equity, creates preference, creates sales. In that order. Did I answer your question? Yes, sir.
Many of us sell products or have services that go through somebody else.
Yep.
Most of us use a dealer of some fashion. Some of us go through distributors. Some of us sell directly to the dealers, whatever we have, and it doesn't go to the consumer. How do we engage the one or two steps between us and the end user in this education, engagement, and et cetera process?
So I believe we first have to engage. So great question. You know, most of us have multi-tier distribution. How do we do that? I believe one of the first things we have to do is we have to educate the dealers. We have to educate dealers in some of the stuff you heard today. That experiences matter, right? We got to work with the owners of the dealers to look at metrics, to look at compensation, to look at, right, if you got spiff money, marketing money, if there's ways you can incent them for great experiences, not their friends, but if somebody really goes in and buys one of your trailers and have a great, I want $5 for, are you the trailer guy too or no? He's the trailer guy. What do you do? We forgot to say.
No, we're the guy, all the nation's banks.
Yes.
Many dealers use us to liquidate their inventory.
Okay.
So that other dealers.
Okay. Start training the dealers and give them an incentive to integrate some of these practices. Go there with them. But this may surprise you. I recently asked the chief financial officer of a $6 billion company, how many clients have you seen in the last 6 months? Any guesses? Zero. And I said respectfully, you're telling me you got your finger on the pulse of this business by looking at your financials? Because nothing will ever replace you going to that dealer. Go with them, go stand there, go talk to them, and not just the honcho. You cannot govern from Mahogany Row. You have to govern from the mailroom. Go stand there, go talk to them. They have to see you talk about some of these things. That's number one. Number two, if I'm at that dealer, right, and I'm giving you a client example. If I'm at dealer and I buy your, let's just say, aftermarket product, great. If not, why wouldn't you try to build a relationship directly with that end consumer? Why wouldn't you commission or spiff the dealer for giving you the leads of everybody who bought a bike, unless you tell me otherwise, needs a helmet, needs a jacket, needs, right, on it. Right? Figure out some way to work with dealers to give you the contact information of here are the people that bought the bikes. If they leave, right, build a relationship with them so you're not creating channel conflict. I don't want you to do that. But if they leave, the dealer can still get something for that person gone, and you turn on your own marketing engine to engage them, as an example. But you have to do it by example. You have to, again, I like metrics, I like compensation, I like training and development. I like, the other thing I was talking to one of your colleagues was, as an outsider, I can come and talk about all these great ideas. At your events, they got to see one of their own peers. They've got to see another dealer who's doing this well. They got to see, and if I'm not competing, that guy's in New Jersey, I'm in Denver. But what goes through my mind, if they can do it, so can we. Start putting your dealers who are doing this well, and there's some that are doing this really well, start putting them on a pedestal and show what they do phenomenally well that others can learn from. But we got to raise the bar on what they do and how they do it. Did I answer your question? Great. Let me go over this side. This side is really quiet. Questions, comments, challenges. Challenge or an opportunity from this 10?
I got a challenge for you that will affect every single person that's involved in the industry in here.
Okay.
And that is not just something that American Honda wants, but everybody needs young bodies, young people getting excited about motorcycles, getting excited about the industry, and coming into the industry. And a lot of them are, once again, got their nose down. They're doing, they're playing the thumb games, and they're not doing this game here. How do we engage them?
I saw a sign that said, motorcycling, the ultimate sport. It was metal. It was from Harley, and it was from 1935, and it was in the restroom of a dealer. We have to get that from the restroom and from 1935 mindset to the front and with the 2012 mindset. Let me give you an example. Create. How often do most of us meet an FBI agent? Hopefully never, right? Especially if you're from Iran, right? Especially if you're from Iran. You don't want to get to know an FBI agent. I'm just saying, right? But FBI reached out and said, one of them sat in one of my presentations and said, we're putting a multicultural committee together and we'd like you to get involved, right? And start building this perception that FBI doesn't come calling only when you're in trouble, that we really want to be a part of the community. You got to do the same thing. How often do these kids get a chance to interact with motorcycles? I would say seldom, unless a buddy has one, right? So why not create, don't just go after the same people. Why don't we go on college campuses and create, I know you got some really cool scooters. Let's just start there. I know you want to sell CBRs, but let's just start with the scooters, right? And look at where I ended up. Where's Tim? Son of a gun, right? So, right there he is, right? So, let's go on college campuses. And have you heard of the Zip car model? What do we call a Zip 2? Start putting scooters on college campuses and give kids a chance to try these things on. But you're going to have to go through an MSF course. Let's work with colleges to give them credits for an MSF course. Let's work with Sarahs of the world and let's get some helmets on their heads. Let's get some gloves. Let's get some gears. Let's get them educated and trained. But let's give them that experience. Because if I ride one, man, this is cool. And it sure beats walking from one end of the campus to the other end. Let's get them infused in the experience. Because if they have a great experience, by the way, I couldn't afford one when I was in school. I couldn't afford, when you think about life cycle, right? When you first get married, you're poor, right? Then you have kids, and we're still paying for, right? But I golf, but I cheat. If you golf with me, I'm kicking the ball where it's convenient for me, right? So, right? So I don't go fishing. I don't go to Vegas, right? So this is my outlet. And I told my wife, some people do yoga, some people jog. I put an earplug in my helmet, and I go 100 miles an hour, legally. Right? So create experiences, but also work with finance and insurance and let them see that for $50 a month, you can get into this and get them engaged. But I'm telling you, I don't know an industry that doesn't need infusion of new buyers, new blood. You keep recycling the same people and they keep buying, they keep up. You need infusion of new blood. And you know that. And what better place than this to kind of put your heads together? By the way, you guys are one of the pillars, right? So work with others to kind of create a package deal. What about, scooting in a box? Here comes the helmet. I don't know. Here comes the helmet. Here comes the jacket. Here comes the bags. Here comes all in a box. What a great experience. By the way, we're here, and here's a club. We go for rides every Saturday. Build that lifestyle. I have to tell you this. The Vespa dealer, again, this isn't a brand issue, but let me just tell you, the Vespa dealer has couches and a TV, and I walk in and they offer me an espresso. And they have T-shirts, and they have videos of old movies playing with Vespas in them because they're selling a lifestyle and you know where their location is? Right in Midtown Atlanta, where there's all kinds of young people, and it's by Georgia Tech and new condos, and they get it, that it's an experience. Now, the guys who own it have tattoos, but he wears long-sleeve shirts. He wears long-sleeve shirts, and he takes his pierced stuff out because he's going to scare the ladies who come in or the people that come in and buy the stuff, right? So, again, think about experiences. Think about opportunities to create experiences for them and show them the path. I don't want you to sell me. I want you to help me buy. Lead me down the path I'm dying to go, which is to buy from you. Did I answer your question? Before I move on, other challenges, questions, opportunities? Opportunities, challenges? There's one right there. Yes, sir.
My name is Justin. I make motorcycle maps. So
motorcycle maps.
Road maps for guys that go ride.
Very cool.
So obviously we're all about the experience. At the end of the day, you go out and you ride your bike on the roads, and we show you where those are. But I just wanted to comment because you asked, what's the opportunity here, and you keep bringing up the customer experience, and it's such a huge thing. And now we have a really easy way to tell the story with social media, and it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, the story's always been told, and they're told in groups like you ride with your CEOs. They're told on ADV Rider, and everybody has their club and forums. But we can really take advantage, and we've all been doing it. I mean, I know all these companies are focusing. We're focused on the experience. But now we have such an easy way to tell it, and that's what we have to take advantage of. And this is what makes it super easy to do.
Absolutely. I emailed Sarah a picture of my 8-year-old son. We go into, again, that Greenville trip for my daughter's soccer tournament. We go into a local BMW, Ducati, Aprilia dealer, and he puts on one of their helmets, and he loves the button because it brings a visor down, and I took a picture of him, and he's showing it to all his friends. Right? So absolute great experiences. Capture them, share them. You know, at 8 and 10, they have email addresses. And 8 and 10-year-olds have email addresses, and they get their homeworks by email. And you heard what I said, right? So it's not an age thing. My mother, 72-year-old mother, is on Skype from Iran so she can see the kids. right? And she's learned how to do that from a third world country, right? So that's exactly right. It doesn't have to be expensive. It does have to be well thought out. You don't want to use social for your personal billboard. You don't want to use PR to use social. Social is about conversations. And again, you have a great speaker coming up. We're going to talk about tactically how to do this and do this well. Other comments, questions, challenges, opportunities? I want to move to 10 touches I think could be useful to you. Okay, so 10 touches. By the way, let me show you a couple of companies that have thought differently that I thought would be useful to you. Kaggle says there's a lot of intellectual horsepower around. You give us the problem. You give us the question came about data. Give us the problem. Give us the problem. Give us the data. We'll crowdsource the problem solving. We'll give you the tools back to help you get better at this. Who says you've got the market cornered on intelligence? How about Skillshare? Skillshare, think about the motorcycle industry. Skillshare says everybody's got a certain amount of knowledge. Let them build their own course. Let them package it. Let them market it. Whoever comes to their class pays for it. It's the razor and the razor blade model, right? Skillshare gets a piece of that business. Why not create this with your dealers? Why not have some dealers go to other dealers and train them on how to do this well, especially if they're non-competing? Think about why people get together. Best practices and best practitioners. Goodsy. Goodsy says, it's 2012. Are you kidding me? Let's get an e-commerce site up in, wait for it, 3 minutes. Goodsy will get your e-commerce engine up in 3 minutes, including the ability to take credit cards. How many of you seen Square? Or heard about it? Have you seen it? How cool is this? As a merchant, how difficult was it for us all to take credit cards? Here comes a guy who says, wait a minute, let's just give him a device and a platform to already use and just charge him no monthly fee, just a percentage. That's really clever, right? Dwella. Dwella, you may have seen their ads. The city, I think the city where you pay for dinner with your mobile phone as long as you got somebody's email address. Dwella is a mobile payment application that's embedded into your phone, right? And it allows you to make payments. StyleSeed. StyleSeed says, we graduate all kinds of beauty and wellness professionals every year. Guess what their #1 industry issue is? Finding business. So in essence, they've built an exchange to bring these professionals together with people who may be looking for somewhere to get my hair and nails done. Right? So how can we bring, and again, I'm putting a bug in Tim's ear. There are a lot of people online that are talking about motorcycles and parts. How do we build an exchange for them to come and find the right distributor and the right dealer and who else is here who represents us locally, and give them options. Give them a chance to talk to others who've had experiences, right? So, this morning I said we got to build experiences. We all talk about experiences. Logical question, how? I've come up with 10 opportunities to build amazing experiences. Again, I'm going to share them. I'm going to talk about them. I want you to take 3 away that you can implement, right? You remember the 1% rule? I want you to take 3 ways that you can implement. Number 1, walk in their shoes. That's my comment about, do you remember the first bike you bought? Forget all your knowledge for a second. Can you have enough empathy with someone who walks in who's never bought anything? Or has never bought a motorcycle, never bought a helmet? I didn't know anything about helmets the first time when I looked. And the local dealer said, well, here's what you get with this brand, and here's what you get your bid. By the way, if you drop it, you own it. Okay. I'm not dropping it. And this part opens up, but that's kind of cool, but is that safe? And by the way, you got to buy different thing for the communication. Okay, I really don't want to talk to anybody while I'm writing. So, okay, right? So, walk in their shoes. How can your dealers on or offline walk in their shoes? Right? 2, you got to show up. You got to show up. That's the example of the scooters in the college campuses. That's an example of take a whole bunch of your gear, unless you tell me otherwise, that gear's not doing you any good in some warehouses and boxes. Take them out in the market and get people to try them on. Go to track days. I'm now going to track days, and I'm going to Kevin Schwantz, and I'm doing more of that kind of stuff. Go to track days and let them try your stuff. Let them try your stuff, and then get feedback from them, right? But you got to show up and you got to engage them. Adaptability, tailor it. We got to get away from one size fits all. I believe, and in my limited exposure, I believe that's one of the things that Harley does really well. They quickly gauge, but they bounce ideas and they figure out and they tailor the bike for you. Oh, you ride Ducatis? Maybe you should think about this one. Have you thought about a V-Rod or a Muscle? And right? So start tailoring. One size doesn't fit all. The dealers are probably the same way. You've got some dealers that are sophisticated, and they're franchises, and they're much savvier than the individual one-location guy. So start tailoring that which you bring to that deal. Some dealers need more hand-holding. Eric was talking about creating videos to kind of give them videos about, not Eric, but Steve Johnson was talking about, creating videos and giving them videos so they don't have to worry about how to promote that stuff. That's great. Does everybody need it? Even if you gave them the videos, would they know what to do with it? I'm working with a $4 billion office supply wholesaler who have developed a e-commerce, and now we're working on social in a box for their mom and pop dealers. Don't leave it up to them. They don't have the expertise either. Don't leave it up to them to figure it out. Let's box this up and take it to them. But now you get that consistency. You get, right? You're helping them hit the ground running, right? Change their lens. I wish I could have captured the guy, the dealer, when I walked up and said, I've got a scooter, I've got a Honda, and I'm thinking of Panigale. Right? You're just like, whoa, how do I tell this guy he's going to kill himself on this bike if he tries? But it didn't say anything. Oh, it might be a little much for you. Right? But you gotta change their lens. You got to change their perspective, right? I told somebody else during one of the breaks that my wife said something like, well, in 18 years, we've been married 17 years. In 18 years, you've never done anything like this. I was like, what do you mean? The time, the effort, the expense. We got to change her lens, that this isn't just for the gearheads, or this isn't just for the, right, whatever that stereotype is. We got to change parents' lens. We got to change, right, MSF as a nice to have versus must have. Right? We got to change that that's the first step. And I got to kudos to Randy Cooper and Amy and the guys in Atlanta. I'm a huge fan of theirs. Right? But again, I'm bugging Tim and I'm bugging them. Their website looks like two guys out of a garage did it. We got to raise the bar on the experience, right? And for those of you who support MSF, you got to start thinking about those end consumers and how do we bring a different lens, different perception to them. 5, bring a point of view. You got to believe in something. You got to bring a point of view. Right? I loved my conversation with Sarah. It was like I said, how do you deal with commodities? And, these guys make helmets and those guys make helmets. She said, we don't go after everybody. We got a very set limit of dealers. And by the way, can I share? They don't discount. They can't discount, right? They got it. So there's so you bring a point of view. That, by the way, if you're selling to an affluent audience, I don't want the cheapest helmet. I don't want the cheapest helmet. Right? So bring a point of view and make sure they understand here's where you're coming from and why this is important, right? By the way, some of these people, and I'm making a sweeping generalization, but we got to get them away from a poverty mentality, I don't know where the next deal is going to come from, to one of abundance. Certain level of pushback is healthy. You got to be able to walk away from that deal if that's not a good deal. Last time I checked, bad prospects make horrible customers. Think about it. Bad prospects make horrible customers, right? If somebody walks in and says, I want the cheapest bike, and they're going to squeeze the margin, you got to walk away. That's not the type of people we want to engage. Exact same thing online, right? So you got to bring that healthy pushback that says, that's not the kind of a Honda customer we're after, or that's not the kind of Suzuki customer we want. We're so desperate for the next deal, please take this off our show floor. Right? Collaborate. I believe this is by far the biggest underutilized asset in this association. You have enormous opportunities to collaborate, right? And I think, we could bring more to the table here. I think there could be greater opportunities for the jacket guys to work with the helmet people and the exhaust to work with the shop. Again, you know the space better than I do, but I think there's opportunities to collaborate. You just got to show up at more of these events. And this is what we're going to do with the next exercise. Human tendencies to sit with everybody we already know. So for this next exercise, as silly as it may sound, I want you to get up and we're going to move to another table with somebody you don't know, right? To give us a chance to get a different lens, a different perspective, right? But make it stronger together. 7, direct correlation, if you lower your self-interest with what people are willing to share with you. What do most offices have? Not a trick question. Stiff chairs. What do most coffee shops have? Really comfortable chairs. People will share more when they're comfortable. When I can't walk through that dealer of how much inventory is in there, I'm not comfortable. When I'm on that coffee, I'm having an espresso sitting on a couch at the Vespa dealer, I'm telling the guy about my 3rd grade teacher. Meow. Right? Get people comfortable and get them, engage them, right? So when you lower your self-interest, I know you want to sell me that helmet, the jacket, the exhaust, whatever it is, but get to know me, give me options, let me evaluate, right? I'm also shopping for a car. And the 3-4 cars I'm looking at, they'll give you the car to take home for the weekend. Right? They'll lend you a car when you're traveling somewhere. Don't rent a car. We have a dealer there. You're welcome to go. Just use my name. We have a network. Go, right? You can use one of our loaner cars. Right? Again, I know there's certain things you can and can't do, but think about it. It's about building that experience, and you're lowering your self-interest. I'm willing to share more with you, right? Accountability. Accountability, you got to own it. You got to show up. You got to ask the dealers to do this. If they're your path to market, they got to own it. They got to deliver. They got to, again, this isn't the garage with the cash register up front, right? We got to get beyond that. We got to elevate that. You got to own it. You got to be accountable and peers, right? So one idea, work with another client where they got their non-competing dealers to join what they call a mastermind group. And they facilitated monthly conference calls between these different dealers, and believe it or not, a quarterly visit. And they went to other successful dealers, and by the way, startup plus startup equals 0. So don't get 2 fledgling dealers together, right? Think about how do we get successful ones together to share what's working for you, what's not, and leverage the strength of each other, right? But own it is one. Candor, say what others won't. Jack Welch, in his most recent book, wrote an entire chapter on not enough candor in corporate America. You got to start telling people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear, right? After that mirror incident, I bought that mirror at full price. In all candor, I've yet to buy anything else at full price. And I still think whoever's selling me is making money somewhere. So there's got to be candor in the discussions. There's got to be candor in what we're doing well. There's a lot of things you're doing really well. There's some things you're not doing well. So let's figure out how to get that candor from the audience, right? So back to the dealer conversations. I think it'd be really smart to put a panel. I did this for a law firm. I got a brand new client, a mediocre one, and one that had just left on a table and a panel on stage. And I interviewed them. The managing partner was sitting in front, and he cringed when the client who just left, which was about $30 million worth of billable hours a year, said the only time your attorneys called us is when they wanted something. And I'm spending $30 million a year with you, right? So get dealers together to give you not a bitch session, not a complaint session, right? But real candid feedback on what's going well, what's not going well. What are you doing to support them? What are they not getting from you? What are they not getting from you that they need and they may be getting from somebody else, but they're not getting from you? I want to sell more of your stuff, but I can't if you don't help me. Help me help you. So get a group together that's going to be candid with you and give you that feedback. Last one is up their game. This is what we're talking about, training and development, up their game. I think the dealers really are the weakest link, unfortunately. And we got to raise their business acumen. We got to raise their understanding of experiences. We got to get away from that, stereotyping. So let's do this. I want you to get up, if you could, please. Go to a different table where you don't know others, you haven't worked with them. Let's split up teams. If you came with a whole bunch of colleagues, go get a different perspective. I want to know 3 things you can go implement. What I want you to do is don't come to events like this and hear guys like me and say that was interesting, right? That's great. But the impact you're after is going to come from a change in behavior. The impact you're after is going to come from a change in behavior. Take 1 or 2 or no more than 3 of these ideas and figure out how to implement them when you go back to your office. That's the only way you're going to see a difference between yesterday and tomorrow. The 1% I talked about all depends on your ability to actually apply 1, 2, or 3 of these ideas. I said earlier, think twice, tweet once. Some moron at Kenneth Cole decided to use Cairo as a hashtag where people are dying on the other side of the world to launch a spin collection. It was a PR nightmare. Don't do that. It's amazing. The good Lord gave all of us discretion. How few people actually use it. Don't do that, right? In the book, I talk about the spectrum of failure. I met a really fascinating professor at Harvard who talks about deviance is blameworthy. Exploratory testing is praiseworthy. Give your people the opportunity to actually fail and learn from that failure to move forward. That's all I have. Again, I'm grateful for Tim for having me. Thank you for being here. I hope this was useful to you.
Awesome. Know that every time he says Tim, it means MIC. You know, I take no credit for hiring him. When you see somebody that good, it's kind of obvious. And our next session is going to be awesome as well. So we're going to take a quick break. Listen to me just for a minute, and then Patty Dow from Dominion Power Sports Social Venture is going to come up and really bring a lot right to the practical nature of this as well. So hang on just for a second. You know, we are graying the generational shift and so forth. I'm not sure when the last time you went trick-or-treating is, but congratulations, you won. That's your break food. There's tea, coffee, and water over there. And we're going to convene in 14 minutes. So be efficient. We'll see you soon. Thanks, David.